Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to VALORANT News, and we're back at it again this evening because we've got another big announcement we've got to dive into. Sentinels have confirmed their in-game leader, the mystery IGL. It seems from all those scrims that we saw a couple of weeks ago that will be rounding out their 2024 team, pretty much confirming with it what their roster's going to be as well. Is this a good addition? Does it now make way more sense in terms of roles? Is Johnqt the man that was leading them to all those good results a couple of weeks back? Very much interested to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Now, firstly, other things are happening. Global Esports have confirmed that basically their entire team is gone. We knew that Monyet was gone right to Paper X. That's now effectively done and dusted, we believe, as a deal. But yeah, Global Esports are starting from scratch. There were some rumours, would they keep SK Rossi? Would he be gone? Now we know that he's gone, and yeah, they're starting from scratch yet again, which is, you know, you can argue it's a questionable decision, but whatever. They'll do what they're going to do. Soulcast as well is gone from Liquid. There's been some questions what Liquid are up to. Of course, we know full well there's, you know, Nats is probably going to be there. Yampy, we think, is still going to be there. Possibly Redgar as well, despite the fact that he was linked briefly elsewhere. But Soulcast officially confirmed to be out of the team as well. I know that many have said that maybe it's about time, but we'll see what Liquid decide to do on this front going forward. Leaf as well. So a couple of things from the VCT database. You can't take any of this as fact just because if someone's released, it doesn't necessarily mean they can't come back, but more than likely, if someone has now been removed from the database, it means they're probably not going to return. They might sign a new deal, but if they were to, you'd have thought they could have accomplished that before the player got removed from the database. And when we saw Mini, the coach of Fnatic, get removed, we thought, that's very interesting, but probably not too much in it. And then turns out there was something in it, and Mini is parting ways with Fnatic, as we currently understand, at least as their head coach, as we saw the other day. And also, Zelsis gone from Cloud9. Leaf, right now, the rumor is to G2 to close out the guards team, X the guard, now G2 with Leaf instead of Tex. That is the rumor that's been flying around, but that's still not for sure. And then Zelsis, we don't really know what he's up to, but unlikely to be part of Cloud9 going forward, and not, as we understand, part of Sentinels. Before we get to Sentinels, though, wanted to mention this kind of bombshell article that Richard Lewis comes out with, and whatever you think of the man, when Richard Lewis says something, it's pretty much as good as true. And he's discussing here the Evil Geniuses VALORANT team, which and the issues that they're perceiving behind the scenes. And this gets into some really, frankly, dark stuff in terms of the way that Evil Geniuses are handling this. Because this is a question that I had. I don't think I've mentioned this in a video so far, but why did EG take this long to announce what they're planning to do? They could have said, I mean, it would have been bad, but they won champs. They obviously revealed their terrible merchandise drop. They could have said right then and there, look, guys, this is the situation. We can't afford the salaries you guys are on. You're going to have to take a pay cut if you want to stay. And, you know, if you want to move, that's fine. Off you go, explore offers and crack on with it. Now, by the time Evil Geniuses actually did say, well, yeah, it ain't looking good, bros, potentially you might have to look elsewhere. And let's be honest, EG, if they are to sell any of these guys, are going to be selling them with a buyout, right? We don't think they're going to be letting them go for free, as the guard decided to allow those players to explore actual offers in the top league. Boostio to 100 Thieves, which is the solidest, let's say, rumor that we have. There's going to be a buyout at play there, you would well think, if that deal is going to get done. So if EG knew they were going to do this, why didn't they tell the guys earlier? And that is a bit of a question. Now, so, you know, Richard Lewis kind of gets into this. Firstly, a source familiar with the negotiations explains that the proposed pay cut was nearly half of the original number. So, I don't know why this went and disappeared. There we go. Anyway, so it basically says that they were offered, their pay cut was in half. And I said the other day that there's been a couple of times in the Call of Duty League when a team has won champs over the last couple of years and has been kind of forced to take a pay cut, but those pay cuts were relatively minor and the teams decided, you know what, fair enough, I kind of get the economics of this. We want to stick together anyway. We're going to win more prize money doing so. But yeah, if they were cutting their salaries in half, I don't know what they're on exactly you know, 25k, 20k, I don't know. But it would have been cut quite considerably to such an extent that the players think that they can do better elsewhere, and they probably can. But then you've got to think, why have they waited so long? And as one source said, the moves are time sensitive, right? Because at this point, as we're going to see in a couple of minutes, Sentinels have decided. They know what they're going to do, and they've made their decisions. This comes, and all of a sudden, EG players are now available, but not available for free, so there's going to be buyouts involved. And this means that EG can wait, ask for buyouts, and effectively block the players from moving. Then kind of say, look guys, you've got to take the pay cuts, right? Players like Boostio might get sold. 100 Thieves, that's an option. It might not happen, but it might happen. But, you know, this is the power that EG have with this franchise spot. And it's tragic in a way that the players that just won champs are in a worse position than the players that just won Ascension, right? Both organizations have, you know, made some very questionable calls here, but the best position to be in going into franchising is to have won Ascension, because people are competing for you rather than now EG. You know, in some ways, they're going to kind of force the players to take a salary cut, because they're going to say, oh, yeah, guys, you're going to have to take this pay cut. And, you know, we've already given you not much of a window to explore offers because we waited a couple of weeks after champs before telling you. And if anyone does want to buy you out, we'll just ask for a buyout anyway, potentially just say no to them even buying you out, and then say, well, either come back here and take the pay cut, or don't play in franchising. So that's the real debate now as to whether this is like, you know, if anything, somewhat of an evil business move by evil geniuses, or whether this is just like accidental. I don't know what you guys want to think about that. Just one more thing, because I would recommend checking out the entire article here after the video's over, but he also does say what we have kind of known to be true, that it is something of an open secret, one that this publication can confirm to be accurate, that star player Ye's departure from Cloud9 was related to salary issues as opposed to the role issues that were touted by the organization. So, you know, what I've been saying for months here, and Cloud9 have repeatedly come back on and said, various people from Cloud9 have said, no, there were role issues. It wasn't just a salary thing. Richard Lewis says it was a salary thing. So, you know, that is good enough for me. Now, here we go with the official Sentinels confirmation. They actually used a little voice segment of my video I talked about the Sentinels scrims a while ago in this one. It was actually just this segment here. Sentinels absolutely cooking in scrims over the last couple of days. So, good stuff. And it was nice to get involved a little bit in this announcement, I suppose. And Johnqt is the man. Now, this is the key thing I would say to note. Okay, it might not be fully on screen for you guys, but mystery IGL. This is because if you guys missed the story a couple of weeks ago now, this is during the latter half of the World Championship. The teams that either didn't make champs, mostly, especially the teams that are based in Americas, because it was in LA, so had the perfect chance, all these teams, to trial new rosters against the best teams in the world at Champions. Fnatic were playing Sentinels. They were getting fried, at least sometimes. Paper Rex were playing Sentinels. They were getting fried, at least sometimes. Same with Evil Geniuses, right? I mean, there was this screenshot going around, Sentinels up 13-5 on the eventual world champions, and these were some of the numbers as well going around when Sentinels, with this interesting team with no Marved and a new in-game leader, were smoking NRG, smoking Paper X, were you know, holding their own against Cloud9 and beating EG comfortably. Now, as I said at the time, when you're practicing with a new Sentinels team, your goal is to win rounds, really. Whereas if you're a Paper X and EG, a Fnatic, your goal isn't really to win rounds, it's to practice ideas for your upcoming matches at the World Championship. It's, you know, I think it was Jing that said that they were getting fried by Sentinels. They couldn't do anything about it. And the question was, who is this, right? Who is this mystery in-game leader that Sentinels had brought in instead of Marved? The initial rumor was FNS, because at the same time that Sentinels were screwing with this mystery IGL, FNS was spotted not playing with NRG. But it turns out that was actually just a coincidence, and apparently the man was Johnqt after all. Let's not forget, M80 in-game leader for the most recent season. Very promising and competent player on especially the Sentinel role. Played a lot of Killjoy over the last 90 days. Also played a fair bit of Chamber going back a little bit, and also Jet, but that's quite a while ago now. Mainly on the Sentinel role is where he's had his best success recently, and look, M80 came very close indeed to beating the guard and qualifying it through for the Franchise League. So Johnqt was obviously going to be, in addition to the likes of Valin, Johnqt, FNS and others, top IGLs on the market, and clearly Sentinels trialed him out for a couple of games, and it was going so well that they simply couldn't say no. they haven't technically said in the video that this is the roster, but I think we can safely say that it is. Marved, we know, is out. That's pretty much now been said, although I don't think that's been made official. They have confirmed, of course, that TenZ will stay, and Zekken is for sure going to be there again. Sassy, Pancard seem like they're going to stay, and Johnqt as the IGL. This, to me, makes a lot of sense because, you know, they can figure out between TenZ and Zekken who exactly does what. Depends on what the meta is. Jet with the nerf, maybe Chamber comes back. It's going to be interesting, but Raze is probably still going to be meta, and Zekken's very good on the Raze. So, you know, Zekken on the Raze, TenZ does whatever's necessary on the duelist side, Sassy on the initiator. Pancard can actually play the smokes role. This was the issue with the Marved thing, is that Pancard kind of had to play off the role that he was super comfortable with, whereas, you know, being the controller. So I think that'll make a little bit more sense. Pancard can go back to the role that he's more comfortable with, and then Johnqt can play the Sentinel and in-game lead. So the roles, I think, make a bit more sense in this situation than they did previously. And you've got to say that this quartet did show some promise. Briefly with Def, but not so much. But certainly with Marved, there was a couple of games they played where you could really see that quartet working really well, and Marv was absolutely a part of it as well. But to make the roles work and everything to coalesce properly, they probably wanted a different in-game leader, and also someone who's actually experienced IGLing. Marved kind of got thrust into the role because they had nobody else to do it, and even given those circumstances, they showed some pretty good promise, but fell short when it mattered. So yeah, if they can, again, we're talking about scrims, we're talking about practice, and we know that Sentinels and practice don't always go so well together, but clearly they saw enough as a team in those couple of weeks of games that Johnqt is the man for them. And I think it's nice that they haven't just blown up the team and started from scratch, because they know that certain elements of this team really work. I really like Zekken. I think the Brazilian duo, obviously they're world champions, right? Let's not forget, from 2022, although, you know, weren't super great the most recent season, but we know what they're capable of. So a different IGL to unlock them is arguably a really sensible decision by Sentinels. So yeah, this is how we presently find ourselves, and I just saw this from Flynn and also some other discussions of the current rumours, which are the most likely teams to qualify for the Masters in Madrid, which is only 2 teams from each region, and Flynn reckons Sen 100 Thieves, from EMEA, Fnatic Vitality, PRX and Bleed, let's not forget Ascension team from the Pacific, and then EDGBLG respectively from China. All could change, rosters could change, but this is just an early indication of the people think Sentinels are going to be rather tasty. Very much enjoyed to hear your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new as always. I know you won't forget to hit the like button. All that good stuff. I already said that, I think. Take care. I'll see you next time.